And so you have the residential side, you have the utility side, but they ultimately have to have a partner in the utility because that's really where the connection is made. And it's a very challenging situation. So Arun, I've asked to come talk a little bit about what it's like to sit in that hot seat.
Thank you again, Dixon, for inviting me to this interesting panel. So I'm a big proponent of data standardization. Data is the key that unlocks a lot of value. And solar is one of the most interesting industries for us. We are highly promoting solar because solar is our hedge to growing electrification. We are seeing electrical transportation going electrical, heating going electrical. So there's a huge load growth coming. And solar really softens that load growth for us. So we are a big proponent of solar. And so I've been watching this solar market from both a consumer perspective and a utility perspective. I have solar panels in my own home. So from a utility perspective, the model is very, very, it was very fragmented years ago. And we are starting to coalesce around standardized processes in chunks today. And we see this evolving into a more seamless across the board, multiple processes coming together. And data is the key that's going to unlock it. So I'm viewing the orange button exactly the way we viewed green button, which was launched about 5-6 years ago. Again, another federal government program that was basically launched to coordinate data that utilities provide in their utility bills. And today everybody gets a paper bill, but there is a green button data format that you can sync up and you can have 10 different apps on your phone that can read it seamlessly, whether you're in California or New York, it doesn't matter, right? So there we saw the power of green button do magic to the utility business. The same thing we see a much bigger role orange button could play in the solar business. And we are seeing the solar business also evolve in time. I'm starting to see solar businesses starting to feel more and more, especially the medium and large sizes, looking more and more like mortgage-backed securities. And so if you go talk to an installer or a solar developer, they are builders. They don't understand the financial. You talk to the finance banks, they don't understand the solar risk. And either they sit in the sidelines and they don't bring capital, or very few niche players are in the market who know how to play the game. And there are a lot of developers who are accessing the capital markets through a lot of intermediaries, and that's adding a huge amount of soft cost to the projects. So end of the day, what we are seeing is solar projects have to get a lot more affordable for people to adopt. And that affordability is now getting very elusive because of a lot of inconsistencies, both in the data management, and you need these specialized folks who understand the market, and the mass market is not jumping in. And so if you go talk to an average bank, a medium-sized bank, not like Wells Fargo, they don't know how to deal with solar, and they're not stepping in with their capital muscle to help. And the only way this industry is going to grow is we need to make this financial grade from starting to end with as little variation as possible, so nobody's spending time and redoing every step of the way. And utilities have a huge role creating that central trust because they have to touch us for interconnection. And we anyway impose standards, and if somebody is not maintaining standards, we can refuse to interconnect for safety and grid integrity. And so we think we have a huge market position to drive standardization, adoption of standardization. So we are looking at the orange button as a means to both increase solar adoption, reduce the soft cost, which is where the biggest pain point for solar is today that's holding back, and also make it more affordable and accessible to customers. And we think that'll really open up the market. I've spoken to developers, and some developers say somewhere between 10 to 40% of the soft cost gets locked up in the processing work, right? And that is something that is huge. If you have 40% inefficiency, and if data can take even half of it, that's a huge jump for us, and that's where we are more interested. So our end game is to make it affordable with data, make it more financial grade, so that it can be more securitized and monetized, and bring new players who can bring capital, and that scale will still further drive down the price. So the end game is decarbonization, safety, affordability, and data can unlock a lot of it. So with that, I'm going to wait for questions. Thank you.
And already you sort of touched on it. The utility has the trust factor. You really are there. But you've got multiple competing forces: political, number one, bureaucracy, and just the scope of what you have to do to do anything different. How do you see the future of all the utilities coming along in this regard?
So there is need for standardization for safety and grid integrity. So we are already seeing that happen. There is a second trust factor. Utilities are always monitoring the solar assets because they're pumping energy into the grid. You got to monitor for grid integrity. And that's a function that's already we are seeing missing in the market. A lot of solar assets are built by somebody, and within the first 6 years after the tax equity time is up, it just changes hands so many times. And somebody who's actually owning the asset has no idea what a solar farm sometimes is. It's purely a monetary instrument at that point. And we have seen solar farms with grass growing and performance not coming, and somebody's relying on that performance to monetize and pay their bills, right? And so there is a lot of missing pieces to fully extract value from solar. And we are already there managing that asset for its lifetime. We are totally responsible if something goes wrong. Already there's rapid shutdown requirements are coming from a fire safety standpoint. There is a flexible interconnection shutdown or those things are coming for hosting capacity standpoint. So we have to manage the solar assets digitally for its life. So that is becoming our reality. And so we do have a need to standardize it for just the fundamental grid operation. So I think we have a potential to mandate it. And if we don't interconnect it, the solar does not exist. It's an islanded system. So I do think utilities have a great value to create and a great value to realize by standardizing data in a format that is applicable across the board.